Good evening. Welcome to the March 18th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This is our first meeting using Zoom, so everybody please be patient. I don't know if I need to list the attendees, but all members are here except for Steve. Peter will be the alternate of record tonight. Also in attendance is Peter Johnson Staub, Irie, Associate Town Council, Frank Duffy, Town Council, and Agent Kevin Newton, and our Administrator, Jen. So the first order of business is going to be to table the executive session till the end of the regular meeting. So I would like to hear a motion and a second to that effect.
Motion to table the executive session.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Again, as a reminder, we need to do roll call votes for everything tonight, being that it's on the video. So I'm going to call your name and ask you, use your name and yay or nay. So again, we have a motion and a second to table the executive session until later in the meeting. Russ?
Robbins, aye.
Betsy? Unmute.
The space bar didn't work. Gladfelter, aye.
Maury?
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Kevin? Kevin O'Brien? You have to unmute. Kevin, you have to unmute. Unmute. Thank you.
O'Brien, aye.
Thank you. Peter?
Peter Walsh, aye.
Mark?
Mark Gurney, aye.
And Matthews, aye. Okay. Next up is vote minutes from March 4th. Anybody?
Mr. Chairman, I have one issue on page, I believe it's 8. Mr. Matthews, this is the vote on the engineer. That did not pass. It said did pass.
I'll have Susan make that correction.
Correct, right?
I didn't see anything else in it.
Okay, so can we have a motion as corrected?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of March 4th as corrected.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Okay, again, we have to do roll call for everything. So Russ? To accept the minutes as Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury?
I was not there, so I abstain.
Gotcha. Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Kevin? I can read your lips, but you still have to unmute.
O'Brien, aye.
Thank you. Peter?
Peter Walsh, aye.
Mark?
Mark.
Warren,
Aye.
and Matthews, aye. Thank you. Next order of business is requests for continuance under a determination of applicability. First one is Blake Hunter, 9 Gardner Road, Woods Hole, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to replace 2 existing decks and stairs with a small increase in footprint and to install mitigation plantings. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant's requesting a continuance until April 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. This is going to get tedious, but Russ?
Robbins, aye.
Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. Next one, again, we're still under continuance for RDA's 27 Cary Lane LLC, 27 Cary Lane, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to relocate an existing freestanding field stone wall. Jen?
The applicant is requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. Next up, Edward McNeil, 36 Drift Road, West Falmouth, Mass, for permission to permit an existing 4x8 concrete pad and fuel tank. Jen?
The applicant is requesting a continuance until April 1st.
So moved, Arlo Hawks.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney, Mr. Byrd,
Do we lose Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. Next up, Heather and Thomas Mahoney, 2 LCN Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct and maintain a front porch and to install a native tree. Jen? Jen, you're up.
Jen, the cursor needs to be over the video for the space bar to work.
The applicant is requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So moved, Arlo Hawks.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. Unanimous. Next up, our request for a continuance under a notice of intent. Jen, do I need to read the legalese? Okay. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. So again, we have requests for continuance under a notice of intent. We have a few of them, so please be patient. First up, Scott Carpenter, GM, THO of Massachusetts, Safe Harbors Marina, 36 and 42 Fiddler's Cove, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to install 4 finger floats and a connector float to the existing float system and to install 2 new piles to support the 2 new floats. Jen?
Sorry, I'm having trouble hitting the space button. The applicant is requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Arlo Hawks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue until 4/8. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Arlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. request for continuance, Bay Ridge Realty LLC, 127 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to demolish and remove an existing single-family dwelling and to construct a new single-family dwelling patio, Title V sewage disposal system, reconfigure the driveway, relocate a shed, install utilities and mitigation plantings, and all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So moved.
Carlo Hawks.
Second.
Second.
We're gonna be busy April 8th. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. Next up, Robert J. and Natalie Colgan, 133 Fay Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, RAZE, the existing structures and construct a new single-family dwelling and driveway, install fill, install mitigation plantings, and all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Done?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So moved, Carlo Hawks.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It is unanimous. Next up, Terrence J. and Margaret N. Forster, 37 Beckles Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a timber stairway and landings with handrails on a coastal bank. Done?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 1st.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. Unanimous. Next up, Kevin M. Arnstein, 31 Catomet Street, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, RAZE, the existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling, driveway, mounted septic system, and associated concrete wall, and to install mitigation plantings and all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Done?
The applicant is requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So moved.
Carlo Hawks,
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. Next up, Brian and Doris Cameron, 92 Indian Ridge Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling and to construct a new single-family dwelling, upgrade to a Title V septic system, install mitigation trees, and all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. Next up, Michael Herzig, 8 Nichols Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a detached garage, expand a cantilever deck, install mitigation plantings, and all associated clearing, grading, and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Russ?
Robbins, aye.
Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Mark?
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It's unanimous. Next up, Cape House LLC, 11 LLC, 207, 217, and 223 Meadow Neck Road, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to enhance and reconstruct an existing coastal engineered structure and to extend the structure along the shoreline. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until April 1st.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Russ?
Robbins, aye.
Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Mark?
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It is unanimous. Next up, request
Mr.
for.
Chairman?
Sorry?
Can we retake a vote? I apologize. The email was a bit scrambled. Could we retake a vote for 133 Fay Road and 37 Beckles? The hearings need to be switched to April 1st. My apologies.
Those are RDAs, correct? No?
No.
All right, which one? 133 Fay Road?
What was the
Yes.
original?
Okay. So 133 Fay Road continued to April 8th?
Should be April 1st. My apologies.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so again, this is 133 Fay Road for April 1st. Russ?
Robbins, aye.
Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Mark?
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It is unanimous. And I'm sorry, Jen, what was the other one?
The other one is fine.
Oh, okay. All right, moving on. Request for a continuance to extend the existing order of conditions. Karen and David Howe, lot 479, 0 Vineyard Street, East Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 254265. Request a 1-year extension. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant's requesting a continuance until April 8th.
So moved. Harlow Hawks.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to continue to 4/8. Russ?
Robbins, aye.
Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawks Eye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Kevin? Kevin? Yep, there you go.
Oh. Karen.
I'm back, I think.
Okay.
O'Brien, aye.
Thank you. Peter?
Walsh, aye.
Mark?
Gurney, aye.
Matthews, aye. It is unanimous. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, we're gonna vote orders of conditions. First up is Falmouth Holdings Corporation, 278 Scranton Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. Jen?
This was the bulkhead reconstruction and the travel lift reconstruction.
Okay. Does everybody remember that?
Something's, were we waiting for something from Mike McGrath on this, Jen? Was it about, the stormwater?
No, I asked it. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Russ? Jamie? Yeah,
Yes.
so I asked if they needed a permit for the discharge of stormwater, untreated stormwater in those sand drains. So I think there should be there should be a finding that they have that design, and then a condition that any permit from DEP would have to be obtained, if it's necessary, obtained before construction begins. And if it's not necessary, they have to have a letter that shows that.
Yeah, I remember that. Thanks, Betsy.
Jen?
Mr. McGrath did send something in, on his program to protect the catch basins.
But that's separate than the stormwater, no?
Yes,
It contributes to the stormwater, so.
Hold on,
Yeah.
Peter. Does that satisfy you, Betsy?
not really. I mean, he had basically shell and sand drains. The water went into shell and sand drains at periodic places along the bulkhead.
Peter?
Could we clarify the quorum on this one?
Good point.
I'm not on it.
Good job, Peter. Your quorum for 278 Scranton is Courtney, Kevin, Betsy, Jamie, Russ, and Steve.
Okay. Did we have was there anything else we had in the notes, Jen? No,
Can I make a comment?
please do.
So, yeah, I mean, this was a pretty straightforward project. I mean, they're just putting sheeting in behind the old bulkhead, just like we've seen all around the inner harbor.
Yeah, so it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I mean, their time of year restriction, et cetera, but Jen has that in the record.
I'll make a motion to accept as discussed.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, so I'm gonna call for the roll call vote only for who's on the quorum. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Matthews, aye. Next up, so that's accepted. Racing Beach Association, Inc., 0 Racing Beach Avenue, parcel 012-000, Falmouth, Mass. This is that pipe under the roadway.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. This is the project. They had to come back for the amendment if they found they needed to replace the pipe under the road, which they do. They are going to sleeve it. I think Mr. George Patello gave you kind of a brief presentation on that technique.
Yep, and that was pretty clean. What's the quorum on this one?
It's the same
Beat
quorum.
Peter.
Jamie, it's the same quorum.
Should be the
I
same.
just asked.
Sorry, I'm having trouble with my unmuting with my space button again. Courtney, Kevin, Betsy, Jamie, Russ, and Steve for the record.
So I will move to accept as discussed.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin? Unmute.
Gotta unmute.
Kevin? There you are.
O'Brien, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Matthews, aye. That is unanimous. Okay, so I believe at this point, Jen, we want to untable executive session. Is that
I
correct?
think we need to have Irie talk to you about signing the documents and how we're going to handle that.
Before we do that, okay. Irie, you there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the commission, given our unique circumstances in this remote participation meeting, and that it looks as if we will be using this method going forward for a substantial period of time, I am recommending that the commission consider taking a vote to authorize the conservation administrator to physically sign decisions and orders of conditions on behalf of the commission to obviate the need for members to come into the building to physically sign documents during the closure of town hall to the public.
So move.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and that is, this vote is to authorize the administrator to sign orders of conditions on our behalf.
Right.
Everybody got that?
Jamie,
Yep,
it's to sign anything, right? Certificates of compliance, any legal documents that we would normally sign.
Yes.
That is correct.
that's correct. Until this situation, if you will, is over. Russ,
That was exactly what my motion said.
Presumably, Jen will sign numerous places, each one with a handwritten name of the person for whom she's signing. So we know we've got the right quorum on each item.
correct.
No, we don't have a quorum. These don't need a quorum. They need to have 4 signatures.
Right.
And if a quorum applies, we'll do it.
Mark, I will double check with Irie, and if that is what I need to do, that's what I will do.
Yes,
Great.
I am recommending that Jen sign a version of each specific name that is to go on. And so it would say Jamie Matthews by Jen McKay, Jen Lincoln, Jen.
Or official
on-
even, yeah,
Yes,
okay.
But
All right.
who signs those has nothing to do with what the vote was.
That's correct. It's
Yeah.
it's ministerial responsibility.
So Jen can practice everybody's name.
that's right.
Okay, moving on. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Carl Fox, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
You gotta unmute, Kevin.
there you are.
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Bernie, aye.
Matthews, aye. It is unanimous. Any more other business, Jen? Okay,
Mr. Chairman.
okay, so we want to untable.
Motion to untable the executive session.
Second,
Okay. This is to untable executive session, then we will vote to go into executive session, just so you know. Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Carl Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
Oh, cut it out.
hey, hey, hey.
You're on now, Kevin. No, now you're off.
Oh dear.
Kevin, you there?
Kevin, press your space button.
I know, but when someone,
You're there now, Kevin.
Oh, you just
We-
muted
we-
yourself.
We can hear you.
Now you can't. He's off again.
We're gonna come back to Kevin. Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Bernie, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin, you back yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can you vote, please? This is to untable executive session.
It's off again.
I think we might have to send Art over to Kevin's house.
Or his granddaughter.
Wait a minute.
Okay, we can hear you. Just vote while we can hear you.
Try it again, Kevin.
We have enough?
Yeah, we do. We do have enough. In fact, he's not on, he's the eighth person.
I recommend that he be recorded as not voting.
Jamie, you have to ask the attendees to leave too.
Once we formally move to go into executive session, yes.
Yep. All right, so do we want Kevin's vote? Do we need Kevin's vote?
He can raise his hand he can raise his hand according to Craig.
Okay, I don't,
Visually,
we need the voice. Kevin, are you back yet? Irie, do we need him though on the quorum?
I don't believe we do, but just in case, have him raise his hand visually and we will try to make that work for now.
Okay, Jen, can you tell me if you see his, raise his hand, because I don't have him on my screen.
Kevin, you're on. We can hear you.
Oh, wait a minute.
Say O'Brien.
O'Brien says aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, next up, now, I believe we want to go into executive session. This is for KSOC versus Conservation Commission to discuss pending litigation. I'll need a motion and a second to go into executive session, and again, it will have to be a roll call vote.
I make a motion to move it into executive session.
I make a second, Harlow Hawks.
Okay, Russ,
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Ernie, aye.
Matthews, aye. It is unanimous. At this time, I ask the attendees to leave the forum. And Greg, I think we want to stop recording.
Greg, can you confirm we're back live now?
It's long.
Bear with us.
Mr. Chairman, this is Greg Manworth, Director of Technology. Just got back to my office. FCTV has resumed broadcasting as of 30 seconds ago, and I'm going to start recording again.
Excellent. Thank you, Greg.
In that case, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Before you do, so I just want to say thanks to everybody. This seemed to work very well. if you have any issues, let's, I guess Jen will throw them all on you to share with Greg and, if there's any issues. It seemed to work well. The roll call vote was a little tedious, but that's the way it is. Hopefully it won't be that way from here on out. And that's it. Okay, so Betsy made a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I make a second, and I would also like to thank everybody because this is a whole new dimension for all of us, and we all did well.
We did.
Most of us.
Here,
did.
here.
We
We
all
make
did well,
exceptions for
Kevin.
Kevin. Thank you, everyone. Okay, last vote.
Thank
Russ,
you, guys.
Robbins, aye.
Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Peter,
Walsh, aye.
Mark,
Ernie, aye.
Matthews, aye. It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. Just turn the damn